that, we're joined here this evening by the Commissioner of Public Buildings, Paul Hines. And Paul, I don't know if there's been sort of a change in speaker progression, but I'm assuming you're up first, unless you're introducing Chuck. But that's perfectly fine either way. You're introducing.
I thought you finished a bit earlier.
Okay, I didn't know if you had any further, Chuck, on that, or
No.
that was, I know you said we'd see you later, so I didn't know.
I think I got it.
You got it?
Yeah, the rest of the night, so I was asking questions.
Okay, so we'll come back to the technology component later. So thank you and welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, committee members, for hearing us this evening. It's pretty overwhelming, the people sentiment. You look down the list of this CIP Phase 2 that's before you in this council order. Though it's a sizable amount of money, there's really nothing grandiose there. With the exception of the study for the future municipal public safety headquarters study, really it's addressing a lot of deferred maintenance. Upgrades, improvements are really not there. It's repairing the buildings. Their need is great. This list will go on, and as the years go forward, it will be supplemented. But these are immediate needs. You heard the firefighters, and I'm happy to hear that many of you toured the firehouses and know the conditions that these gentlemen enjoy each day. I'd invite you, if anyone's interested, I'd take you on a tour through the Thomas Crane Library as well, or any of the other facilities that you may not be familiar with, to see the conditions that we're actually speaking of. And that's not to assume that you don't already know. I'm just offering it up if anybody would like that behind-the-scenes tours. The line-by-line items under the public safety and technology section, I do have backup information on each, whether it's been a proposal that we did last spring from a contractor, calculations from our in-house staff. We do have Gary Cunniff, who is the structural engineer. He's priced a number of these things. Dave Scott, who's been fantastic with our HVAC systems. He's reviewed many of the items and the needs of the buildings, and he's opined as to what their needs are and what the expense to do and the repairs would be. So if there's any particular matter that you'd like to go into detail, I will. I will explain to you or suggest to you that the fire mechanics move. Currently, the fire department enjoys the use of space down in the Quincy shipyard. There's different elements down there. There's one that's a mechanic shop where they fix their trucks and such. Mr. Burke built a new building for his operation in the mechanics and built space for our fire departments to continue at the shipyard. So the $70,000 there is to equip that space with the lifts needed for the newer, heavier trucks and items like that. Separate aside, as we know, the training academy is down there for a number of years, and we won't be looking for a new home for that moving forward. But that's not before you tonight. I do have in possession a wish list that was put together by each firehouse, staff in each firehouse. We've tried to address all of them in those wish lists. Same thing, they're not looking for granite counters and such. They're looking for removal of asbestos, fixing the wires and fixing the leaks. We in the public building department did knock off a number of items over the course of last year out of our department budget, but we just absolutely can't hit this whole list on the annual appropriation. I did suggest earlier the $500,000. We did do an RFP on the streets for designer services and feasibility study for entities that would be qualified to do a study for us on whether we advance that facility, and if so, what size, what programming, and what needs would be filled. This money here funds that successful respondent to the RFP. The committee is being set up to review all the many responses that we received, and in order to execute, move that forward, they need the funding to fund the contract. As we know, that the Bryan Post is not going to be dealt with at this time. I want to echo what was mentioned earlier. There is asbestos in our schools. We are compliant. There's no immediate risk, but there's aging infrastructure that has asbestos. There's floor tiles, there's ceilings, and we need to start addressing them before it's crisis mode. So this is like the first step of a planned removal action going forward. Some of the worst ones first. We did do our 3-year annual recertification and resurvey of the buildings that is required under the asbestos laws. We do have those reports. There are some minor repairs needed to the existing facilities, but they do in those reports suggest the systematic removal going forward. So this is the first bite of doing that, the $200,000 in the schools. The fire suppression heads, 2 of the schools have fire sprinkler heads that have been recalled as being defective, and we need to swap them out. The science lab at North Quincy High School, those labs are 40, 45 years old. They're not functioning as they should, and they're really not designed for today's science class in the laboratory program. So this is a design and recommendations on a redo in those current labs. Mr. Begoli did speak to the chillers and the rooftops. There are dozens of rooms in North Quincy High School that have no windows. The only air that's taken in is through the mechanical ventilation system. We're down to 25% capacity from what's designed for that building. And as it stands now, if it's a 95-degree day, we're piping in air that's in the 80s when it should be near the 70s. So we're piping hot air in because we can't chill it appropriately. If we lose that last element of that last chiller, we are going to have a real problem. There is an underground storage tank at North Quincy High School. Years back, they went to gas and they did not remove the tank. It's still in the ground. We'd like to take that out to avoid any hazmat situation going forward. There's a number, I'll kind of group them together, the recommissioning of the control systems and the heating and ventilation plants. Some of these buildings, as Shelley would say, are out of control. The controls don't work right. There's malfunctioning software, there's malfunctioning valves. We can't control the temperature in the buildings. Whether it's overheating or underheating, it's just that the patrons in the library are requesting them. That's to address a number of them across the buildings. Quincy High School, there's $150,000 here, that's a big chunk. Quincy High School is not an old building, and it's costing us a fortune. It's so large, it just has so many mechanical systems, and it's just far beyond technologies that we have traditionally had in the city in our buildings. And it's kind of a growing pains on maintaining those systems. Della Chiesa has a failed condenser unit that's related to their air conditioning system as well. That failed, their HVAC system is not functioning as it should be. Hot water, domestic hot water system there has failed. They don't have the hot water that they're required to have by code. The Wallison Elementary School, underneath the basement floor slab, under the concrete floor, the soil pipe that's 110 years old or something at this point has failed. And it's undermining the slab, and the slab is collapsing itself. It's not a structural issue that the building's going to collapse, but the floor is not stable, and there is a sanitary issue under that slab that does need to be addressed. Lincoln Hancock School is one of our newer schools, and it is one of our most costly as well to operate and to go forward on. Notwithstanding the pool is a separate entity, the building is heated by electricity, it's electric heat, it costs a fortune. The control system is out of control. We need to get a handle on that. The lighting systems are difficult at the moment. The building has been repetitioned since it was built. The lighting, one switches are not doing the right rooms. But even more so when you move to the pool aspect of the building, the locker rooms are absolutely deplorable. We get emails all the time about the condition of the showers. You know, go there, if there's 20 showers, if there's 3 that's working, it's a good day. 4 is a stellar day. The components are old, it's the early 1970s, the parts are not available. We have to completely redo the shower systems in those locker rooms in the swimming pool because the people are not able to take a shower before they go swimming, and that's against the public health laws. It's just the general condition of the locker rooms as well. The stalls are broken, there's missing doors, the bathrooms, the shower partitions for privacy partitions are broken. The pool too, it's got the chlorine pools. You remember a number of years back there was a collapse of the pool at YMCA down in the South Shore someplace because they hadn't been testing. Pool chemicals help to degrade concrete. Nobody knows when the last time the roof over the Lincoln Hancock pool was tested. We want to do that. The aluminum slat ceiling that's in there has failed. There are pieces of the slat that fall, and they're like razor blades falling from the ceiling. So we're asking for money to redesign a new ceiling system for that space, which will also allow the reflective surface so that we can relight the pool, because right now the electric lights are hanging over the water and they're difficult to access.
We would like to do a study to reheat the entire building, take it off of the electric system, put in hydraulics. Beechwood Middle School, likewise, similar to Wallison, has had the sanitary pipe under the building fail. It's going to entail jackhammering the floor down the center hallway, accessing the pipe, replacing it, and redoing the floors. The Goals building over behind North Quincy High School is not part of North, but it's at the campus. It's in very difficult shape. They have water issues, there's infiltration issues, the heat is not functioning properly, the ventilation is not functioning. The next one, North Quincy High School, is the gym bleachers. Mr. Fagoli made reference to that. They do not meet today's codes. They are broken in addition to not meeting the codes, and they are not safe to be operated. Wallison School roof is listed here. In the last iteration, it said ceiling. The ceiling had water damage from leaks caused by Solar City. Portions of that ceiling collapsed. So out of my department budget, we spent about $60,000 to put that ceiling down because it was asbestos. We're not going to replace the ceiling. We found a cedar deck roof. We painted the steel and painted the ductwork, and it looks great. But we do need to replace the roof. We're in negotiations with the Solar City, but they've now been sold to Tesla. Whole new group of people back to square one. I don't know if we'll ever get a dime out of them, but we are trying. We did, I will say, get the money for the squad roof. We did receive a check for reimbursement there. Beechwood Middle School is bulging at the seams. Dr. Christopher was constantly looking for ways to alleviate that condition, even to the conversation of mobile classrooms, which were not ideal. So we're asking for monies for a feasibility study to put in yet another addition onto that building. They've got us the ECC, water's infiltrating the building because it's running up the roofs. As Mr. Fagoli said, the carpeting in North Quincy High School is disgusting. You walk in the library and it smells. It's worn down through the back into the concrete slab. It's a public safety hazard. And I'd hate to see somebody go down and break a hip and have to go into home because they broke the hip on the carpet. I do have pictures of many of these things. If anyone wants to go up sidebar, I can circulate copies of them all, whoever would like them. North Quincy High School, one, because of its age, two, because of the air conditioning system not functioning properly. Many of the ceiling tiles are deflected so badly they're actually falling out of the bricks. And they're dirty for years of breaks and leaks. They're mismatched throughout the whole building. They're well beyond their useful life, and the ceiling tiles need to be replaced. This is just a shot in the dark. We won't even do half of the building. Same thing with the carpeting in the classrooms. There's a lot of issues. There's mold issues. They're worn through to the plywood. There's tripping hazards. This phase one interior wall replacements is a recast or redescription of the same amount of money. It was a typo in the last one. But in the new addition to North Quincy High School, which is now 40-something years old, it has the mobile walls that aren't functioning, and them are broken. The principal has asked that we look to remove those walls and actually put in stationary walls with classroom doors so that they can isolate from one another. There's a lot of disturbance going from room to room, walking through classrooms to get to the next, and just, the sound of instruction from one room is traveling to the sound and competing with the sound of the instruction in the other room. And North Quincy High School is the #2 energy user in the city. That building alone uses 9% of the electricity in the entire city. That was including street lights and everything. It does have fluorescent lighting, which was the state of the art 40-something years ago. It's not now. So we're looking to replace the lighting throughout that building with LED lighting. And again, this is just the first stab at this. Will not cover the whole building. But we'd like to do the common areas and such that are on most frequently. You heard quite a bit in the libraries. The Adams Shore Library, the HVAC system has failed. We barely get by in heating it. We certainly cannot air condition it. With that large glass, it's like being in a fishbowl with the sun blaring in. Asbestos removal. All of this, again, is deferred maintenance, with the exception of the exterior repairs for Richardson. That is deferred maintenance. It's long overdue. This is work that was supposed to be done 17 years ago when the addition was put onto the library. Funds ran high, and this work was deferred and was going to get to the next year. Well, there's been 17 next years, and it hasn't been done yet. And I got photograph after photograph, water infiltrating that building, ceilings have collapsed, woodwork is ruined, walls are wide open. There's actually, on the upper level of the Richardson building, where Richardson's finest libraries, there's kiddie pools in the attic catching rainwater. There's paint trays, catching water coming in windows that go into 5-gallon Home Depot buckets. There's some of the windows in the Richardson building, the glass is held in the frames by paper towels that they wet and packed in there, they dry. They're not going to hold much longer. We really need to take care of the Richardson building. In many ways, it's truly falling down around us, and we need to deal with that. The North Quincy Library has electrical deficiencies. We're looking for funding of $25,000 to upgrade those and to add capacity for the computers and stuff that are coming online more and more in the libraries. As somebody made reference, there's asbestos tiles on the floor of that building which are breaking. We'd like to abate them and replace that with carpeting. Thomas Crane Public Library, the main branch has a security issue. There's a number of people that are in there throughout the day, in and out, and the library director is quite concerned. She's met with a couple of different vendors, and we've designed a security system we'd like to implement there. The last piece of the general city buildings, it's the same thing. You know, it's terrible to have to say, but the world we live in today, it's open to a policy in City Hall right now. Not that we want to change that, but we want to be able to have more security. If we need to have a lockdown, we have to have a lockdown. And we don't have those capacities at this point. So there's a line item for the security of the City Hall building here. When you're at the firehouses, you may have seen their front driveways and the side driveways, but in many of the buildings, the glamorous part is the roadways, everybody's very happy, the road's smooth when they get paved. They've always kicked aside the parking lots. Some of our parking lots on these schools and the firehouses are absolutely treacherous, and it's just an accident waiting to happen for people to fall. So there's different degrees, some just need an overlay, some need complete rebuilding, and we do have a spec being brought up by Ty and Bond as we speak on that. Kennedy Center is now 9 years open, I believe, 8 years open this summer. And the heating system pipes were underneath in the crawl space under the building, which is a very wet, moist environment since we built on marshland back in the day. And the hangers and such and all the heating pipes have failed. And we're constantly dropping the heating pipes. We get a call from the water department because the water is running 24/7. That's the only way to know that another heating pipe has failed. So there's money to design and then overhead piping inside the building of the heating system, which also controls the air conditioning system in that building. The Fall River Clubhouse, we're asking for monies for asbestos abatement and to deal with the bathroom plumbing. There's quite a bit of asbestos in that building that was left behind by the Honeywell project, both on pipes and, dare I say publicly, in piles on the floor in the basement. And it has got to get taken out of it. The Veterans Memorial Stadium, the stands, the concrete stands from the 30s, I believe, when it used to be Pathman's Oval. If you walk up them, you can see a number of the stair edges are broken, the control joints are broken. But if you go underneath and look at the bridge that goes up to Hancock Street, it's not in good condition at all. That's an immediate need that cannot be deferred. Snow guards, regarding the building, we've crushed, I think, 4 cars at this point. Thankfully, nobody has been standing there as the snow comes tumbling off the roof. Back in the day when they didn't care about the oil bill, the snow would just melt. Now that it's so well insulated, the snow sits there, so the sun hits it and it comes off in avalanches. It's so bad, and we didn't have the money this past winter, that the roofing contractor that did the roof when the building was renovated paid out of pocket to add snow rails on the front of the building. We still need to do the other 3 sides, so that's what this request is. I mentioned just general needs for more technologically advanced control systems like this building, Central Middle School, some of the others. It just costs more to operate these systems, so that's what the line item for $100,000 is to upgrade some of these control systems and keep them balanced. And the Kennedy Center too, that was built in the 50s as the elementary school and been through a couple of tenants. And the city now have it as the senior center. There's a lot of areas in that that need pointing. There's water infiltration in the building, just by years of deterioration of the water. Nothing structural, it's just the water's leaking in and it creates problems, so we need to address that. Is there any particular item anyone would like to address? I would certainly entertain a question.
Paul, before we open up to questions, and I know my fellow councils do, you had alluded in the beginning, and I know that you and I had chatted a little bit before we got going here, and I had a conversation with the mayor's representative, Mr. Walker, regarding the Bryant Post acquisition.
Correct.
And how at the time I just found it odd that it was part of this bond request. And my understanding now is that essentially that's going to get couched for a conversation to take place later, post-feasibility study for the potential public safety headquarters, correct?
At some point in the future, correct.
So we're looking at Council Order 2017-132, which is an appropriation for $12,836,000. So that is less $1.3 million for Bryant Post. So with that, let me make a motion to cut $1.3 million that bond authorization. And I would recognize the mayor's acting representative here with us this evening. Welcome, Lisa. If you had any commentary about spot on sort of delivery, or
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and the administration agrees with that, and we will come forward with that order in the future.
perfect. So I put that in the form of a motion.
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor King, Councilor DeBona,
Yes.
Councilor Finn,
Yes.
Councilor Harris,
Yes.
Councilor Hughes, Councilor Forrest,
Yes.
Councilor Leeang, Councilor Calucci, Chairman Smail.
Yes. Thank you. And I guess the amended amount, doing some speed math there, is that 10, 11, 5, 11 million, 11,536,000, just as amended. And with that, thank you for the presentation. I'll open it up to questions. Councilor Forrest, you're anxious.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you to Mr. Hines. Paul, you really, every year, every time I know Councilor Chair, I always asking about what our long-term capital plan is. And while you've done some significant homework and really looking at every public building that we are responsible for, these are public assets and there's long deferred debt building maintenance. But it's time. We've seen great projects come to fruition, and you did a tremendous job with your stewardship of this building and the Cardington building. I often joke that when we work with the Inspection Services Department, that we'd be in violation, like code enforcement could come ticket the city for the condition of some of our own facilities. I do have a couple of questions. You had referenced the fire department, and we had great testimony earlier from our department about the wish list and how the committee's been working for years, and you've really been tackling some of the smaller issues, and now you're bringing in the larger ones. Are there any items that are going to remain on the wish list that we're not able to address between what your department has been working on and what you're bringing forward for the fire department?
From the wish list as I have it, I'm not aware of something not addressed. There's been a couple of kitchens that have already been redone. I believe West Quincy got a new kitchen. And many times in these parts of the firehouse, the guys do it themselves as well. So it's a team effort with the firefighters, who a lot of them are crazy outside in our department. So I know Central Headquarters got a new kitchen, West Quincy got a new kitchen. We did the asbestos removal at Point. We did the electrical upgrades at Point. We did a lot of painting, but as they alluded to, there's already damage to much of that. But I'm not aware of any significant matter on the wish list.
So what about more of the, and again, this is a lot of structural integrity, these are real needs and not additional amenities, but I was at the unveiling of the kitchen at the West Quincy Firehouse, both myself and Councilor Vaughn graduated high school with John Austin, and but we don't want to have, and as much as I appreciate the extracurricular talents of the fire department, we don't want to be piecemealing and fundraising and bringing in their own resources for our public building facilities. So are there other things that, I just want to be clear, as there are, this isn't cleaning up everything, but this is tackling substantial.
The major ones, yes. There are many of the minor ones that we can address going forward to the department budget. And I will be honest and say that there's still there's still community preservation money in the account that was appropriated, I believe, a year or 18 months ago for Point Firehouse and the Wallaston Firehouse. So there's still that pool of money to address the gutters and stuff like that in those buildings. So they're not here on this request. I'm going to I've got a pool of cash to take care of them already.
Okay, I will say, Housing Fire Station Engine 6 has been the host to the Housing Committee Council's tree lighting every Christmas. And every year I'm going, and when we host the event, we've talked about the conditions of the front driveway, and we've been seeing those addressed. But the firehouses are definitely antiquated. There's definitely really got to be supporting of that. It's important that they're getting modernized and upgraded, because those buildings work 24/7, 365, and as the first responders, they're always there for us. They encourage people to, I mean, they have people pop in there all the time, but that back driveway literally was a blight, and the poor neighbor in back, and the conditions they lived in, in addition, and then serve out of that station every day. So I did take the opportunity with some of the members of the seminary to just tour the different stations. I'm glad to hear we're really tackling their wish list, and I appreciate them stepping up and taking their time and advocating for the needs of the fire stations, because we do need to hear from them, and they've been overlooked for decades. So I appreciate the good work of the administration on that. The other question I have, which I just want this part of my thing to go away, but Honeywell, right? So you're talking about malfunctioning software and controls. And wasn't that like the next, oh, we're going to solve all your problems, Honeywell's coming to town, and I feel like our $3 million settlement hasn't nearly, we're years later now still feeling the effects of the poor execution of that contract. And so, was it Quincy High that you had said had malfunctioning software and control systems?
Quincy High School, yes. But that, I don't believe have been involved in Honeywell.
That was not, that was new.
That was the new system that is failed.
Okay, and lessons learned, I assume, have been implemented in Central, and you're going to roll forward into Sterling and beyond?
We actually do. There's actually a file called that, and we've got a lessons learned meeting.
That's important.
And that goes so far as to don't use this particular product, don't use that compressor company, don't use that bathroom faucet to that detail.
Yeah, I'm sure it's a more colorful word than the Honeywell file. The other thing for me, the Richardson building is one of the most historic treasures our community has, and I feel like you really spelled it out as to what we're dealing with and how we're, band-aiding and duct taping our buildings and what we needed to do. And I understand, believe me, if you've got a leaky, window in your own house and procrastinating it, and you can't, the Richardson building is so valuable, it's so signature to our community that you're right, it's time, if not now, we can't afford to postpone that project any longer. There's a lot of projects on deck. I guess my last question is relative to your timeline for delivering these. So we're talking about $11 million appropriation. What is your anticipation? And I appreciate your background. You give some pretty good information. And I felt like I had seen the timeline previously with some of your phases, and maybe I just don't have that particular document with me tonight.
Let's make no mistake about this. This is a lot of money. It's a lot of money at one point, but that's because the need is there. I do not have a set timetable for the implementation of every one of these projects, other than to say we're going to begin some as expeditiously as possible. We did, through the efforts of Frank Mattozzi, who's the master of procurement, we put out an RFP for on-call designer services. We had a number of respondents, and the lead respondents had each of the disciplines beneath it. And we awarded to everyone that responded. So now we are fully complied with procurement by taking up the file, finding an architect, taking up the file, finding a mechanical engineer, design this one. So now we just have to negotiate their price. We're comfortable with their price we can use it. So there's no more, the central register, weeks of Veritas. We've done all of that. So we're really ready to hit the ground on many of these. Like this is one, the stadium. That's the bridge at the stadium. We got to get that engineered. In fact, I think we're going to send the guys down and shore it up with wood until we get that done. We've got the
football season. Oh, it's football season.
I know. Others right up here and staying on their feet.
Yes.
So, to be honest with you, I don't have time to for you. There is a concern by a couple of guys in my department that they're going to be working a lot. I said, yes, you are.
That was my next, I guess, the follow-up is are you anticipating you have sufficient staff, bringing on staff, contracting staff? Who's doing this work for us?
Most of this work that you see will be contracted out. Walter McDonald's fantastic in doing that. We'll have project managers I take many of the projects myself, and I manage particular projects, and we each take them. To the great benefit of the Parks Department, the great loss of public buildings, Don Martin was sworn in today as the Executive Director of the Parks Department, so he's no longer around. And he was one I could absolutely go to when he got done. So it'd be a great fit for the Park Department, but it's going to be very difficult to replace. But I have no doubt the mayor's got something in the back of his head already.
So clerk of the works for all of these projects, I think, sometimes for us as we're funding these, for us to kind of get a check in on where projects are, being executed, where that, what the deliverables are, project completion. I think, who would be managing that, yourself?
You can direct the inquiries to me, and whoever has been assigned to be the project manager for that particular one, I can distribute it for them and either have them respond or I gather the information and shoot it back to the council of requires.
I think, in particular, the libraries, every year there's such a small portion of the city budget, and the quality of programming is top-notch, but their physical conditions are really deteriorating. It was great to have some of their advocates come up here tonight and see the love they have for the library. It is definitely, can I give the word to Ward 1 that I'm sure will have AC in 2018? I guess that's kind of what I'm looking for.
Yes.
In some of these projects, as we're talking about, North Quincy High School bleachers, basketball season, and have new bleachers. So
they are designed and ready to go.
they're designed ready to go. So, so there's things. I guess we're looking at it as there's a big chunk of public projects that are going. You've been doing a lot of homework, getting things prepared. Some of these projects we're going to see delivered fast. Some of these projects will probably, some of the schools, the routes, you tend to do that in the summer season. So I guess I just want the public to have expectations of when we have great discussion when we're going through what we'll be spending this following on. I guess I'm looking for information on when they'll be delivered, just to set their expectations. But all fantastic projects, all long overdue, and I will be supporting the appropriation.
You mentioned the library costs and monies are being neglected. This year alone, since July 1st, we spent about $40,000 in the air conditioning and $90,000 in the elevator out of my annual budget.
Oh.
So the needs are there. We need to do these.
And I think what's, when we talk about annual budget with needs on these capital improvement plans, what it is operational, and we don't have the cushion to handle projects when things go wrong. And we're really, I think in this last council session, we adopted fiscal policies. We talked about our borrowing limits and where we want to be financially, because we need to be planning for these projects and having funding available that currently we do not, and we're making adjustments. I will say, you really have great teams who do whatever it takes to get things done and deliver. But I was at the library the other day, I had to use the children's elevator because the other one was out of service. So thanks for your good work.
I will, on that matter, going forward with the budget session, this past one was May 1st, I'm going to recommend a line item for reserve account. But each year, money is allocated to reserve account to cover emergency things like that with appropriation of the council at the time, but at least there's a pool of money that can be appropriated.
I think that's a good idea. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor DeBona.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to, Paul, I'm going to put you on hold a little bit. We've been on breaks, July and August. I'd like to talk a little bit about this capital improvement plan as a whole. We've had this kind of in our hands over the last year. We knew this capital improvement plan was going to be coming down the pike. We have some allocation that we need for funding, obviously. I want to start off first by I want to start off by the three criteria that I always start off with: is education, public safety, and infrastructure improvements. Those three are the top conditions and concerns that I do and make decisions up here on allocating funding or whatever the case may be. Let's start off with education. We're going to backtrack a little bit. We're going to go back 4 years ago when I was on the school committee. 4 years ago, we had a little influx of kindergarten students. Some of the schools, like Lincoln Hancock, Clifford Marshall, Montclair, had a little influx of kindergarten. So we looked at and this is part of the whole capital improvement plan, is St. Mary's acquisition down the road, is to alleviate for those kindergarten students and for the West Quincy students that are basically on the Grove Street, the other side of the highway, to allow them to go to St. Mary's. Now, we're also obviously in the pipe for building the new Sterling Middle School. We have Quincy High School, Central Middle School already built, brand new facilities, MSBA, 70 to 90% reimbursements. Now we got Sterling, we're in the pipe, should be done in about another year. It was on the Sterling Building Committee. Very important, alma mater. My 8th grade year, I went there, Quincy Point closed, and I had to go to Sterling for 1 year before going to Quincy High School. Just to get back on the school committee and the kindergarten students and how important it is that we provide that. Sterling Middle School, currently right now, has 340 students. We're building a new school for 430 students. There'll be 90 more kids can go to Sterling. Talked about a little earlier about we should be concentrating more on the other side of the city, which is Clifford, Marshall, Lincoln, Hancock. Well, we were also on the table looking to redistricting some of these lines, maybe in line with some of the wards. It's an overlap. There's the wards and the districting of the schools are overlapped differently. So we're looking to do that. Now, I know there's a school committee issues, but education is always going to be number one and very important for our children. We talked about all these different repairs and improvements that we have to do to our schools. I drive by them all the time. You either build a new school or you fix the existing school. We obviously can't build every new school, so we have to do the existing school and do what we can. And I'll get to the fire in a minute. We have to do the same thing over there in that department. But education is going to be, and one of the ladies said it earlier about the animal shelter. She said, well, we have to provide for our children, for our future. We have to provide for our seniors. We have to provide for animals as well. So that was her top threes. But, you know, I hear about the term pay now or pay more later. We have to think about that when we're trying to move the city forward with what we're doing outside here, as well as what do? Do we wait long enough for it to be in disrepair and it costs us more money to repair it? Or do we build a new structure, start from scratch, take advantage of different MSBA funding, grant money, federally or statewide? Or do we go in and we do a capital improvement plan? There's only so much you can put in the budget. I'm going to be honest with you. $2.9 million in the education budget, around $2 million of it went towards the teacher's contract. There was $900 left over. That goes like that. So what do? You find outside the box, we take advantage of our MSBA program, we get 70 to 90% reimbursement, and then we go after this capital improvement plan. That's why I came up here to the council. Came up here to the council to fight for more funding for the schools. I feel it's very, very important for our city to move forward in the right direction with all our construction and all our redevelopment in the city is to have a top grade education system. That is top tier, top tier. And there was a nice article in the Ledger the other day. Mr. Sean Carter wrote it. South Shore lags behind state in offering free full-day kindergarten. Well, guess what? Quincy offers free all-day kindergarten. Let me tell you some of the municipalities that don't. Weymouth, they charge $3,500 a child. And they have a lottery system where not every kid gets in there. 237 of the lottery gets in of 391. So not every child can go to that. Braintree doesn't offer it. Hingham, Marshfield, Situate. Those are our neighboring towns in the South Shore. There's 10 total in the South Shore that charge for all-day free kindergarten. We don't. The average that they're charging is $33.90. $3,390 they're charging for a child to go to kindergarten. Norwell charges $4,000. Hingham charges $35.75. Why do I talk about this? We have a system here, a city that provides this free day, all-day kindergarten. It's very important for our city. I've been knocking on doors for 4 years. 3 citywide elections. People are moving here to Quincy because we provide these services. We provide these services for everyone. We talk about the Kennedy Center. Provide services for the last 8 to 9 years at the Kennedy Center. I go in there and the place is packed. We have to find another facility like the Forever Clubhouse for our seniors because it's packed over there. We can't fit everybody in there. We're providing services for the city, so I understand, and I'm fiscally conservative, trust me, I'm fiscally conservative. We need to find other avenues of funding our sources. There's only so much you can tap into a budget. You have to go into other sources. Getting back to the public safety, which is the next criteria. Public safety on our streets, public safety for our fire and our police. We provide those resources for our men and women in the city of Quincy to protect us. As we're growing as a city, we need to maintain this. I've been in these firehouses, headquarters, North Quincy. I took a tour in headquarters. I feel so bad that our men have to sleep in there. I really do. I really do. I want to move forward on a public safety headquarters as soon as possible. I would have voted on it last year because we need to provide a public safety headquarters for our police, our fire, and our DPW, and to alleviate the madness that we're having. You know, this is very important. And then the next criteria is infrastructure improvements. We're talking about a lot of infrastructure that we need to do and maintain in our city. I was driving, was knocking on a door in House Neck, and a guy was kind of arguing with me about his road. He said, and I won't say what the street he lives on. He's probably listening right now. And he kept on complaining, I would just want you to just pave our road. Well, I was walking down the road that's right off the dike there. It's brand new paved. It provides for Rockland Street, Pawsey, all those streets that go off the dike. Brand new, paved on the sidewalks, paved on the street. Very high, high maintenance street that's going to be well-traveled street, I guess I can say.
And a new bridge.
And new bridge. So I says to him, and we talked for a good 15 minutes, and he's complaining about you need to provide more infrastructure. He says we're getting to it. Just be a little patient. And within a month of talking to him, it happened. It happened. And we're getting there, but it's a work in progress to do this. And I just wanted to give an opening statement, because we've been on break for a while. I've been out there on the streets since the beginning of April, talking, knocking, everywhere in the city. And, there's a lot of concerns, but I have to tell you, I see flip-over houses, which means new dwellers in there. I see a lot of younger families. I see a lot of younger families that want to raise a family here in Quincy, Massachusetts. Whether you agree or disagree, that's the bottom line. The proof is in the pudding. I get the list. I look at it and I go, wow, look who's in here. Brand new grass, cutting their lawn. There's a flag up, American flag up. I mean, that's what I want. I want to go back to the traditional Quincy that I grew up in. The American flag up. People mow their lawns. People say hi to each other. People actually walk by each other and, hey, how are you? How you doing today? And it's not foreign. There's a sense of neighborhood in the city of Quincy. We have pockets of little neighborhoods, but we still are a city. And that's what I want to continue to strive to do. So, listen, fiscally conservative I am, but there's time that you have to move the city forward and you have to bond some of this money. And we have a situation where our debt service is at a point where we can actually have room to bond this funding. Our AA plus rating, which we need to talk about. We need to maintain that to bond. These are very important items that I continuously think about in our head. How do we do this? How do we strike a balance out there in that city on what do we do? Do we hold this off and wait and wait and wait, and then we can't prepare it? I've been through these schools. I've been through North Quincy High School. We've done a lot of window repairs. We've done a lot of door repairs. Solar panels on every single roof in the city of Quincy for the Quincy Public Schools. Boilers, and we've taken advantage of the MSDA program where we can get 79% back, but there's some other repairs. We have to maintain our 18, 19 schools. You talked about Della Chiesa, Early Childhood Center. It's a very important place. My little boy goes there. My other little boy's going to be going there another 2 weeks. I'll have 2 kids in the Quincy Public Schools. It's not just about my kids. It's about providing for our children. They are our future. So when I look at this bonding that we have to do, and we've had this on the table. We've been talking about this for the last year. We have to think how important it is to move the city forward. And listen, I want to keep taxes low. We need to find other generating funding for our taxpayers out there. We need to find more commercial growth to allow this to happen, to allow this bonding to happen. Our debt service is going to go up. But mainly I just wanted to have an opening statement. We haven't been in session for a while. We haven't talked about a lot of these things. We've had a summer vacation. We're back at it. We have a lot of things on the agenda. Reimbursement-wise, do we have any, this funding that you're asking for tonight, do we have any reimbursements in there? Is there any statement of interest of MSBA, or is there any grant funding that you're going to get back? Is there anything in there?
Nothing in this program qualifies for the MSBA, either the core program or the accelerated repair on the schools. There is a grant being written by Eric Mason, the municipal finance department, as we speak, for $250,000 for the handicap upgrade at the Florida Clubhouse. Hoping to capture some of those funds if we're successful to do the bathroom renovations. They're not compliant as we speak. So we'll get 2 very quick ones going with state money on that. That plays well into the park outside and the playground for all concept down there. It's really kind of the same program. The state is really excited about teaming the building improvement with the outside improvements. But you know, the mayor's challenging us all the time to think outside and look for ways for funding, and we have. And again, he's mindful of the taxpayer. There is nothing grand on this. This is really maintenance. And you talked about the credit rating, the bond rating. One of the elements to keep that rating is maintaining your current assets. So not fixing them to artificially keep the tax rate down, ultimately cost you money because now you can pay higher interest rates than that which you do bond. So not only does it cost us less to fix now than later, and absolutely the need for these repairs are there, it actually helps our rating to maintain our assets.
Where do you think the biggest chunk of funding is going towards? Or where, in number-wise, what allocation of funding is going towards the most? Because you kind of have a lump sum of public buildings, lands, and computer software upgrades. You also have schools in there. It's kind of lumped. Where is our biggest chunk going to be going towards?
There are subcategories. The general city buildings, City Hall, Senior Center stuff is $1.4 million. The library is $2.9 million. It's actually on the spreadsheet. It's broken up.
Sure.
Schools.
I just want you to tell the public, just so they know.
Schools are $864,000. The public safety design is $500,000. The technology, which is the email and those other softwares that Chuck was talking about, and the public safety radios, that's $1.9 million. And the public safety structure portion, not the communications piece, but the structure portion, is just under $1 million. So the largest chunk here is the schools.
You know, we had a lot of special interest groups in here tonight. People came up and they spoke about in favor of. I didn't hear anybody say that they were opposed to something in general. Did anyone come up here tonight and say they were opposed to anything? Like, hey, listen, I don't want you to do this, or I don't want you to do, you know, Thomas Crane Public Library. I mean, Adam Shore, I use that facility. My kids go in there. We want to use the branches too, as well as the main core of Thomas Crane Public Library. We have to provide that service. The animal shelter, we'll get into that in the next piece, but we're going to build a new structure. It's going to be a brand new facility. I mean, we only can provide 12 dogs in there right now, and 15 to 25 cats that we can hold. I mean, they've rescued 7,500 dogs and cats over the last, since 1999. So we need to provide a little bit more of a service, and I see a lot of animal lovers out there. My in-laws, they have a basset hound. They're empty nesters. They don't have any more children in the house, obviously. They had Duke prior, he was a basset hound, and then they have Sophia now, basset hound. They care for that dog like it's their child. And that's what they love that dog so much. It's like their child. And to walk her, you know, play, and I go over there, the dog gets out of that crate and starts jumping on me, and it's just, that's what kind of keeps them going. You know, so when we talk about animals, it's near and dear to my heart. But, you know, Paul, we're up here tonight. This capital improvement plan, it's a lot. I understand that, but these are kind of, I always talk about needs and wants. We can kick the can down the road a lot longer, but in my personal opinion, it's going to cost us more down the road. So we have an opportunity here with our AA plus rating. We have opportunity with debt service, we have availability on it. And we're going to have to generate more revenue from this, from all these other things going on in the city. And I'm going to be honest with you, everybody's going to be held accountable for this. We have to provide more funding for our taxpayers. That's commercial economic growth, downtown development, North Quincy development. We have to provide for that because we have to make up a little bit. We can't just go back on the taxpayer every time and say, okay, we're going to do all this bonding, we're going to come back to the well again and go back to the taxpayer. No, we're going to do all this construction of the city and make it a little bit displacement for people, then we're going to have to provide something for them in the long run. So I'm going to be asking and pushing the buttons here to say, listen, we need to get more funding for this type of stuff. We need to go outside the box and find other avenues of getting this funding. So, it's a give and take. We can do these type of bonding, but we better provide something on the back end and not just tap into the residential or the regular taxpayer of the city. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Before I transition to Councilor Yang, I just want to now come in at the end. Obviously, I heard it right from my fellow councilors to share their thoughts. But I heard you mention Fort River, and as you know, that's a place that's near and dear to my heart. And I've been working very hard over the last 2 years with many residents, many generous private corporate citizens that have made sort of ascertaining some of these alternative funding sources possible. So I would extend it to Councilor DeBona that if you would like to partner with down at the board to sort of advance this, you're more than welcome. And we can use all the creative outside the box revenues. I think right now we're up over $75,000. Again, very little by me, organized by local Quincy residents, made possible by some general corporate citizens. I appreciate it, and I'll get to this at the end, but I appreciate what you've done in your short time as a commissioner. Councilor Yang.
Thank you, Chairman Boone. Good evening, Bob. My first question for you is, with these estimates here, they are all round numbers, but and I know you also mentioned that we do have to put out requests for proposals as well for the work. Do we have a contingency built into the estimates that are in front of us today? Do we have a contingency built into the estimates that are in front of us, or is this simply based off of estimates for the work alone?
We do have a contingency, and that's not to say it's padded. But some of the things that we got like an engineer's probable opinion of cost, some got rounded up, some got rounded down. So
what's the average percentage that we're looking? Are we applying it to all the line items across the board?
There's no one line item, contingency, that's what you're asking?
Well, no, but it's what I'm saying, are you applying a contingency to the grand total, or are you applying it to each item as it's listed on here?
Kind of the grand total, it's baked in. Like I say, some of the numbers rounded down, some rounded up. Unfortunately, since it was prepared, I would suggest that some of them are probably higher than when we first prepared this list, so we may actually not get them all. So unfortunately, this type of thing, the contingency sometimes is one of the projects doesn't get done. But, we're comfortable in these pricing. We either got actual estimates from vendors. We have engineers opining on the probable opinions. We take off from like the seating. We just built the Central Middle School. We know what the seating costs. We number by cost per seat times number of seats. That's our cost. We have allowances for phase projects. So if I've got $300,000 here for lining up North Quincy High School, that's not doing the whole building. We'll do $300,000 worth, and then be back later. So that's one of the ones that can't possibly get over. You just stop. So it's baked in throughout the document, one line item, and there's not like an escalation on the bottom line.
Okay, and any projects that won't get done, I see in one of the documents you gave us says there's a project schedule here, and I'm sure that's a moving schedule. 2017 says phase 1, 2018 you have phase 2, and then 2019 finished major capital projects included in the first 2 years. So depending on how the projects go for the first phase, are we going to hold on the remaining projects until that first phase is done, or are we just going to keep moving forward as each year goes?
I think as we go forward for the next year's task out for funding, we'll then know where we stand on these. They'll either be completed or underway or the design stage. But we would report to you at the time of the next ask the status of each of these projects at that time. And then it's obviously within your purview to continue the particular one that we haven't executed yet on, or to advance the second or third phases, whatever point in time that is.
And at that time, we can also take a look at any projects that maybe we could not have met to possibly roll that into the second or third phase as well, correct?
Correct. Like for instance, I'm just using it because it's an easy one, but the lighting. We put in allowance into this year. We do that much lighting. We come back, say, all right, we've completed that. We need another tranche of money. We can do the next 3 floors or whatever it is, or we can scale it back to 2 floors, depending on the circumstance and the finances at the time. But it's just the nature of this. It's just the need is so great that we're never going to be short of projects. We're just always going to be short of funding.
No, I absolutely agree with you. I too, like my colleagues, I said, had the opportunity with Mike Paulez and some of his team here to go through some of the fire stations, and it's absolutely terrifying when you're walking underneath this one that's being held up by jacks, and you know there's a 60,000-pound fire truck above your head. I mean, it's incredibly terrifying.
Right.
So you look and you look at instances like that, the asbestos we have in our schools, the heating system in the Kennedy Center that's not working right now. And again, you do have this set up in phases. So did you go through with each department and say, of course, all of these are urgent matters, but in order to get this third piece done, we need to roll out this first phase first? Or what was the thought process behind how you rolled out these projects?
I did meet with representatives of the fire union and kind of prioritize their needs and their wish lists. And again, some of the more urgent ones are the ones that I've done out of my budget. I met with the Board of Trustees of the library and a couple times with Megan Allen and get their priorities as far as, if there's 50 items, there's 10 here, and that's their primary concern at this point. And then myself, the lawyer in my head, looking at the public safety ones, is someone we're going to fall on the broken sidewalk and lose a hip, then we're going to pay litigation. Let's fix the sidewalk, not to mention her quality of life issue. So there's some things that just scream they have got to get done now. So there wasn't even a question on some of this.
Okay. And you did mention, and I do want to take an opportunity to thank as well. We did met with the team over at the fire department, the fire chief, and I want to thank them for being here and for coming and speaking on behalf of all the work that they've done and what they need. They are sort of fixer-uppers themselves, and they've gone in and painted the walls themselves. They've taken it upon themselves to not even at that point report it, because they say we can just take care of this ourselves, and that should not be their primary goal. Their primary goal should be being our first responders here in the city. You mentioned Megan Allen, the Board of Trustees of the library. They're absolutely phenomenal, and they do. They work under a very conservative budget, but they provide a number of programs to the city, not just with the books, but with children's programs, movie nights, classes where volunteers are teaching other residents here in the city. And with the schools, Paul Bully is here tonight as well, and our schools are in desperate need of repair. We talk a lot about all the work that's going into the downtown right now, the infrastructure in the downtown, which is necessary, but folks have said, and we're absolutely right, we have to acknowledge that we can't ignore the rest of the city. Band-aids aren't going to work, they're not going to last. Band-aids are costly, but they're temporary. And we can't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. I understand that there are other things that we need to address across the city as well, but we can't let what other item that might be out there hold us back from items that we know are in front of us now, items that all of you have worked hard on getting estimates for. And so I appreciate all of the work that you and all the departments have put into it. And I look forward to supporting this work and seeing it get done on time and on schedule and moving forward from there. So thank you for your time. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any